Some of our most beloved characters on TV and film were originally played by other actors. This episode looks at a few of the actors who portrayed well-known characters before those whose faces and personalities became inked in our memories.
Starts now.
Welcome to Episode 7, Season 6 of Before, Behind, and Between, where we talk about everything from politics and football, music, and, as in this episode, film. Did you know that half the cast of Gilligan's Island, not to mention the theme song, were completely different in the unaired pilot episode? The story of the SS Minnow, an eclectic party of seafaring passengers who find themselves stranded on a desert island, originally featured different characters played by different actors. Most notable, faces and personalities we associate with Marianne and Ginger, respectively, a country girl and a movie star, were originally scripted as secretaries, named Ginger and Bunny, played of course by different actors altogether. Back to the Future had actually started filming not with Michael J. Fox as Marty McFly, but with Eric Stoltz, two very different actors applying their respective crafts to the same character. And the result originally didn't produce the comedic effect hoped for. Some of those original scenes with Eric Stoltz, a fine actor, are available on YouTube and show a more serious take on the time-traveling teenager from the 1980s. Fox was brought in to replace Stoltz, and his image and persona have become part and parcel of the legacy of Back to the Future. Another production that started with a different actor in the leading role was Star Trek Voyager. Today we cherish the crew of Voyager headed by Captain Kathryn Janeway, played by Kate Mulgrew. However, before that, the set of Voyager featured a well-known cinematic French-Canadian actress, Genevieve Bujold, playing Captain Elizabeth Janeway. Bujold quit not quite 2 days into filming, citing the rigors of episodic television as inconsistent with her style. In the end, it is difficult to imagine anyone else other than Mulgrew as Captain Janeway. Now, here's a story that kind of mixes reality and fiction. The 1950s sitcom Leave It to Beaver depicted what was felt at that time the typical American suburban family of four, centering on the youngest son, nicknamed Beaver. Also central to the plot was recurring character Eddie Haskell, the somewhat mischievous older boy with a somewhat smarmy charm. Originally, the character of Eddie Haskell was named Frankie, and the actor who breathed life into Frankie was Harry Shearer, the very same Harry Shearer whose voice defined several characters on The Simpsons, and whose role in the mockumentary This Is Spinal Tap has risen to cult status. The related fiction in this story involves Alice Cooper, who, during an interview early in his career, explained to a reporter that he was kind of like Eddie Haskell during his youth, a point that the reporter interpreted as fact, that Alice Cooper was Eddie Haskell on Leave It to Beaver. Of course, this was never the case or intended to be the story, but the rumor of a young Alice Cooper on a 1950s sitcom TV show just wouldn't go away, despite its fiction. Anyone who has enjoyed The Honeymooners would likely be familiar with the so-called lost episodes, featuring earlier skits, not with Audrey Meadows playing Alice Cramden, but Pert Keldon. In fact, Keldon's version of Alice ran for 7 episodes. And now Frasier is back in the news with rumors and tidbits circling around about some sort of a reunion show with most, if not all, living actors committed to joining the cast. Well, if we go back to the time before those actors became inked in our culture, viewers would have seen Frasier's on-air producer, Roz Doyle, played by Lisa Kudrow, who became famous for her role in Friends. She was originally cast as Roz, and despite her attempts to make it work during initial rehearsals, ultimately resigned to parting with the production. Interestingly, in retrospect, I think that one could have worked. Finally, we look at All in the Family. The original pilot episode presented a show called Justice for All, featuring Archie and Edith Justice, and their daughter, played by Kelly Jean Peters. A second pilot was shot, with the show then renamed to Those Were the Days, with Candace Azara playing Gloria. But the mold wouldn't be set until the third pilot, with the show finally renamed All in the Family, with the Justices evolving into the Bunkers, and firmly planting Sally Struthers in viewers' memories of what would then become one of television's most iconic productions. It's difficult to imagine anyone else, other than those names, voices, and faces we've come to love in film and television. But occasionally, behind the scenes, there were other ideas for characters and cast that came before the ultimate choices. By the way, footage from all of these examples is available on YouTube. Visit stephenchristiansen.ca for more episodes. This podcast is available on all major platforms including Anchor, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, TuneIn, and Google Podcasts. I'm Stephen Christiansen. Thanks for listening.
Production of Stephen Christensen. Podcast complete.